sparkle, loving the way that I do. It is true, I feel so good just having you. Breathlessly and eager, submission isn't easy for me.
We were so loving, wasn't we?
I'd always known it could be.
Don't wanna do nothing, shine against your will.
This ain't no cheap thrill.
You got to know just how I feel. If you think you're gonna fall, all you have to do is call.
I have nothing but myself, and I give myself to you. Sensual tingle sparkle. I hope the love never breaks away. Leave a little fire burning every day. Save all the warmth for you. Just want you to know when the jealousy shows. Understand there will be no other man but you, babe. You can believe this love in me as I believe in you. And when comes along,
And I'm really on your mind. Everybody needs some time. Something funky, good and kind. And you always seem to please me. And you wear me down so easy. Good work is never done.
until the morning comes. Just want you to know when your jealousy shows. Understand there will be no other man but you, babe. You can believe there's love in me as I believe in you.
Don't wanna do nothing, shine against your will.
This ain't a cheap thrill.
You gotta know just how I feel. And if you think you're gonna fall, all you have to do is call. I have nothing but myself,
And I give
myself to you.
When comes love,
And I'm really on your mind. Everybody needs some time, something funky, good and kind. Breathlessly and eager, you got me round the finger. A sparkle in the fire, you always take me higher. You always seem to please me. You wear me down so easy. Work is never done.
until the morning comes.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this Respect and Love Fest for Donna Futterman. I think everybody here knows me, but I'm just going to do a little quick introduction. I'm Stephen Stafford. I'm the long-term work spouse of Donna Futterman at the Adolescent AIDS Program at Montefiore, the special programs director and communications director for many years. But today, it's just such an honor to be the host of this meeting. I'm gonna make sure that we've got everyone. These special times call for special measures. Thank God for Zoom. It's not the sort of tribute that I'm sure all of us think about when we think about retiring or doing something special, but this is special. It's so wonderful to see these little faces and boxes, to see so many people from different parts of Donna's life, both personal and professional, here to pay tribute to what we know is a unique and truly, truly special. I mean, special isn't the right word, but Donna is such an incredible person. I know that each of you is here because of the impact that she's had on your life. Speaking for myself, I'm so happy and proud, and in some ways can't believe this moment is here. Can't believe that this force of nature would ever retire. But, you know, behind her and built on her shoulders is so much good work. And I can't wait to hear the things that so many of you want to say today. And so again, thank you for being here. I've muted the lines now. I think a little bit later when we open up the floor, each of you has the permission to unmute yourself. So when I call on you, if you will unmute yourself, and I'm guilty even after 2 years into this of trying to speak while muted. So I'm sure I'll have to remind some of you, don't be ashamed. I do it to this day still. I think the outpouring of love that has come from voicemail messages, text, email messages has been so overwhelming for me. And I know Donna will probably speak to this when she speaks, but so many thanks to everyone for the warm wishes. So many people wanted to speak today, and you know, we could have made this a 5-hour event, but we couldn't. So, you know, we've got confirmed speakers in a roster that I'll be calling on a little bit later, but hopefully at the end, if we've got some time, we'll be able to open the floor. And if you haven't been called upon, maybe there'll be an opportunity for you to say something today. If not, please reach out to Donna and give her your love in person. So before we get started, I want to just say a few words of my own before I hand it over. And this is probably going to violate a lot of Montefiore HR policies, but I can't talk about my boss, my mentor, my friend, my collaborator, without talking about my work wife. And, you know, I think what started out 21 years ago as a mentorship grew very quickly into a professional marriage. She's my work wife. I'm proudly her work husband. And, you know, like so many good marriages, it's built on mutual trust, a lot of respect in my direction to hers, shared values, you know, a true belief that this person makes you a better person. And Donna, you have done all of those things. You've been all of those things. And it's been such an honor to know you and also to work beside you. You know, like a lot of gay marriages, it starts with cruising. And so Donna and I, our marriage started with cruising. Back in the late 90s, I was doing CME for the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association. And I know Dr. Ken Mayer is on the call. He was my mentor there and guided me so wonderfully through that whole process of trying to build really meaningful and fun continuing medical education programs. And during the late 90s, we had this bright idea that we were going to do CME at Sea, that we were going to, you know, be a part of a gay cruise and offer doctors the opportunity to learn while they were on vacation. And in the very first year, I had to come up with some speakers, and we could only have 2 speakers because it was such a small event. And Ken helped me call around, ask, you know, who can we find that's going to be dynamic, that, you know, has a breadth of knowledge that would be interesting and impactful. And time again, I kept hearing Donna Futterman. You have to get Donna Futterman. She's so smart. She's such an amazing speaker. She's so fun. And boy, was that all true. That was an understatement. You know, Donna and I met by phone first. She, you know, impressed me immediately. We put together a program for that conference. And then on the cruise, you know, those seeds of friendship and colleagueship were planted. And a couple of years later, I had sort of had my share of San Francisco, and I had always wanted to live in New York, and it was just growing bigger and bigger and stronger, this desire that before I got too old, I wanted to go and have my New York experience. So I reached out to Donna, and as fate would have it, she had a program, a social marketing program that had just been funded to be expanded into 6 other cities. And so long story short, I came to New York, helped her run that program. And 21 years later, a ton of memories later, a ton of learnings and accomplishments later, here we are. So that's my, my history with Donna. I don't know anyone like Donna, and I know that that's probably going to be a common refrain today. You could say they broke the mold with Donna, but I sometimes laugh. I think, when God made Donna, she was saying, let's take a little bit of these Einstein genes and these anti-MAME genes and a little bit of Larry Kramer and a little bit of Gloria Steinem, and let's see what happens. And that's Donna Futterman to me, in a nutshell. That is the genetic nutshell of Donna Futterman. I have been so blessed to be working beside this person for all of these years. Donna, you have been a mentor to so many people, so many young people who are patients, so many young people who are coming up as advocates, as medical students, as policymakers. And I, alongside of all of those people, have become a smarter person. My worldview has become so much deeper and wider than it ever would have had I not met you. My curiosity was, further stoked by your curiosity and seeing how you look at every issue, every opportunity to innovate, to make a change that's better, and almost always to try and lend your intelligence and your passion and your energy to help people who don't have as much of those things. So I just, I don't want to go on and on and on. I just want to tell you how much your life, how much your career has inspired me, has improved me. And I'm not the only one. I'm one of thousands, that's no exaggeration, thousands of people who have been so inspired by your work, by your personality, by your passion for everything, whether it's your job, the way you live your life with your family and friends. And I just can't wait to see what you do in the next chapter of your life. So I'm no longer your work husband, but I'll always be your international travel husband. So let's get on the books a trip as soon as we can. So let me just tell you a little bit about what we're going to do. We've got a list. As I said, there are so many people that wanted to speak. We have a list of folks that I'm going to call on. As with these Zoom meetings, people are coming in and off. A lot of people are working. We understand. So if I call your name and you're able to, please unmute yourself, say a few words, and we'll probably have to circle back a few times and see if other people have joined. There's so many people on the call that it's impossible for me to see who's here and who isn't at this time. So bear with me if you hear me calling out people's names multiple times. The first speaker that I'd like to call on is Dr. Bernie Branson.
Gosh, Stephen, I told you I was afraid to speak because when I saw the notice of Donna, I burst into tears. She's been a huge, staunch ally through a bunch of things. And I hope everybody knows that 2006 recommendations for routine testing go down to age 13 because of Donna and Monica Sweeney, who's also on this call. She's been a staunch advocate for adolescents forever. And I think we're all going to miss her. And I certainly will wish her the best and welcome her to retirement. And, thanks a million for letting me speak today. Thank you, Steve.
Hi, all. My name is Marge Cohen. I'm sorry we can't be together in person to honor Donna. Right now, I'm in, luckily, Joshua Tree, California. I've really never seen anything like this park. But then I've really never seen anyone like Donna either. I met Donna as a college student at Barnard in 1970. We were very close, best friends since then. We had very similar, though not identical, perspectives, and we pushed each other, hopefully in good directions. One of our favorite activities was protesting, and that has brought us together many, many times during the past 5 decades. There have been anti-war, anti-apartheid, abortion, and clearly we need more demonstrations there. Women's rights, ACT UP, anti-farmer, gay rights, reproductive rights, single payer, and climate crisis demonstrations. We crossed state lines and we went to other countries together to raise our fists and our voices. Sometimes we were in the same small groups and sometimes our views diverged. And that has even been true in the most recent times. Think Hillary versus Bernie. But I think for both of us, being an activist and making a difference was what really mattered and has always remained. I left New York for Chicago to go to medical school right after college. Donna would visit and I would see her back in New York. And I like to think that a part of why Donna went back to medical school to become a doctor about a decade later was because she was inspired by the struggles that we were working on at Cook County Hospital. Things that made us understand that medicine could be a way to help people as well as struggle for needed structural changes. And of course, that really was the essence of the HIV epidemic. How important it was to be there for patients and also to push, force much needed change, changing stigma, homophobia, sexism, racism, profit-oriented medicine, and global inequities. Donna and I were brought together again while working in HIV, even though we were geographically separated. Donna was in New Jersey and the Bronx with children and adolescent programs, and I was in Chicago with women and children's programs. We went to national and international conferences together. We went to HRSA funder meetings. But here too, we agreed and sometimes disagreed. We argued over HIV testing, issues of consent and universality, and drug company research money. But the AIDS epidemic was larger than these short-term strategic differences. Living through that remarkable time with Donna side by side was a phenomenal experience for us, as it was, I'm sure, for so many of you in this tribute. Before there were effective medications and there were so many deaths of friends and patients, fighting the feds and the drug companies to get drugs to folks who needed them, overcoming the stigma against HIV patients, gay, bisexual, and trans youth, and those with substance use disorders, fighting for medications for those in countries in Africa and other poor countries. That sounds familiar to now, right? We really did come a long way. There were a lot of successes, though we really are not where we should be by any means. For me, the successes were related to everything I learned with Donna in the early 70s. Meetings, strategies, demonstrations, continued pressure and protests, activism, not giving up. Working with others, especially those most in need, to make real change. Donna has always been a global citizen. She's cared about and wanted to know about people living in every part of the world since I met her. Her work to end apartheid and her HIV work in South Africa were really highlights of her career. But back in the Bronx, Donna was working really hard at creating a welcoming and embracing approach to care for youth with HIV and more recently, trans youth. Defining and meeting the challenges by ensuring funds, creative programming, taking on the whole borough of the Bronx for testing and reducing HIV transmission, writing up and disseminating her results and her plans. She's really one of a kind in the HIV world, and for me, the whole world. Her energetic and smiling personality, which can make you feel comfortable and convince you to do whatever she wants, her appreciation of differences, even ours, but love of people around her, her leadership and commitment. She's made a tremendous difference, and I can't wait to see the next act. Love you, Donna. Thank you all.
Is Suzanne Kessler on the line? Yes.
Yes, I am.
Hi.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so a little prepared remarks. Wendy and I have been friends with Donna for 35 years. We met when Evan was a baby, and we were members of a group of women intentionally raising children without fathers. That group lasted until our sons were in high school, but our friendship with Donna continued. In 1990, during a sabbatical from teaching, I worked at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility as the civilian coordinator of the AIDS Education Program, which was started by the women inside. I turned to Donna a number of times for advice. She knew exactly what I should read and who I should talk to. She seemed to know everyone in the world doing AIDS work, even Matilda Krim. What a party for Donna's book publication at Dr. Krim's East Side townhouse. A wow in every respect. Many years later, when Wendy was in Montefiore for a procedure and Donna was a director of the Adolescent AIDS Program, she stopped by to visit Wendy, make sure that the professionals on the unit understood that Wendy knew Dr. Donna, and they had better take good care of her. That was Donna, the friend. That same day, I visited the Adolescent AIDS Clinic, and Donna showed me around a place that she had talked about lovingly over the years. She introduced me to the staff as though they were family members. That was Donna, the professional. In 2016, the two of us were part of a group of 7 friends who went to South Africa. Knowing that we wanted to be more than just wanting it to be more than just a tourist opportunity, we turned to Donna for an introduction to an HIV/AIDS organization that she'd been talking about for years. As a board member, she was able to set up a meeting with the folks at Mothers to Mothers. When we heard directly from the women in Cape Town, our admiration for Donna grew even more. Donna was committed from the start of the AIDS crisis to offer the best possible care to populations others weren't attending to, people who weren't necessarily able to advocate for themselves. She has limitless energy, enthusiasm, humor, and love, which is what makes her a unique professional and a cherished friend. We eagerly await the next exciting chapter of Dr. Donna.
Love you, Donna.
Thank you, Suzanne. Dr. Karen Hine.
Hi, everybody. Wow, what a moment. I'm so delighted to be able to tell 2 haiku stories about Donna, one professional, one personal. They both speak to her fierce dedication and her principled tenacity. First, I had the joy, the privilege, and the love to actually hire Donna, and then to watch her take the baton as the director of the Adolescent AIDS Program. So these are 2 stories from the early days. We opened the program in '87 amidst intense pressure to do something, to heighten awareness of where the epidemic was heading, namely adolescence, not where it had been in little kids and adults. There was a lot of opposition from our colleagues not wanting Montefiore to be known as an AIDS hospital, and from the public around AIDS-based school curriculum, services, including condom availability. I quickly realized that we needed real expertise, a person who had the rare combo of expertise in adolescent development, medicine, healthcare, infectious disease, and HIV. Donna was nearly unique in this country at that time. And she was in the midst, though, of her infectious disease fellowship. But we got her, and you know the rest is history. She quickly infused the program with her wide and deep understanding of HIV, broke new grounds, first focusing on getting young people enrolled in NIH clinical trials, because at the time, if you were a kid 12 and under or an adult 18 and over, you could be enrolled in a trial, but not if you were 12 to 18. Donna broke that barrier. And now as we look at the NIH extensive adolescent treatment network, and so many other research, training, and advocacy efforts that she fueled in CDC and HRSA and everywhere. But most importantly, it was her bringing in the community and the empowering of young people's voices and youth-led initiatives that really have distinguished her from the beginning to this day. On a personal level, I wanted to tell a quick story of Donna's principled tenacity that was expressed in her challenge to Montefiore's staff benefits policies, which did not include domestic partners for benefits coverage at that time, before same-sex marriage was codified in law. I warned Donna not to take on this cause, not at a time when fear, stigma, and denial were so prevalent in the community, including the hospital and academic environments. I warned her that she was not likely to win, that it would be detrimental to her career, possibly her ability to be promoted and accepted by more senior medical staff and university leaders who had demonstrated reluctance to even have an adolescent AIDS program at all. She completely ignored my warnings. She proceeded with the challenge, won the case, thereby opening up possibilities of more equality, fairness, and acceptance, changing her world and the world, not only for her generation, but for all who have followed. Donna, you have been that force for what was right, just, and needed. We love and thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So nice. Lisette Marrero.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm trying to find Donna in the sea of people that love her so much. Yeah, there's so much to say about Donna, but I wanted to kind of make sure that I made certain points that were really important. So I prepared something myself. Donna, it was an honor to work with you for 15 years. I know a lot of your colleagues and friends will talk about your accolades and all the contributions you made to the field of HIV, which I got to see firsthand. But I thought I'd focus on how you shaped the person that I am today. When I think about that decade and a half that we worked together, I would sum it up in 2 words: opportunity and partnership. I was 27 years old when I started working at the AAP, hired by Neil Hoffman while Donna was on sabbatical in South Africa in the summer of 2001. She returned to work to find a feisty Bronx Latina who is eager to learn and jump at every opportunity afforded to her. And the opportunities were limitless. And Donna, you saw my passion for young people, my connection to the community, my dedication to the field of HIV, and the impact I wanted to make in the Bronx. You never said no to any idea I had. You included me in every programming opportunity, every research opportunity. You pushed me outside of my comfort zone to present at some of the biggest conferences I have ever gone to, which I was terrified, but I did it because you believed in me. You pushed me to promote every AAP campaign, from hitting the zips to getting busy to ACT and so much more. You knew early on what I was capable of, even if I didn't know what I was capable of. And you would say all the time, Lisi can do it. And I quickly grew into each and every role, from providing training to everyone in the Bronx, outside of the Bronx, national trainings, especially those for the AETC, overseeing GLARC, the Gay Lesbian Health Resource Center, to starting the first peer education program at AAP, overseeing outreach, mobile HIV testing, and taking on the monster of all roles, Deputy Director and Administrator. During which time I became a member of the leadership team, and you and I established a strong partnership, working side by side to ensure the sustainability of the clinic, all the programs, the research efforts, grants, and staff. When I served in that capacity, Donna, I was challenged in so many ways, in ways I couldn't even imagine. But I learned so much, and I have taken every single lesson learned from you and from AAP, and I continue to apply it to my everyday life, both professionally and personally. And that feisty Bronx Latina that I mentioned earlier grew into a confident, strong, and fearless woman who is molded and shaped by your words, by your passion, your advocacy, your desire to see a world without AIDS, and to create a space for young people of color, whether living with HIV or identifying as queer or trans, to be affirmed, to be loved and accepted. You are truly one of my sheroes, a pillar of fuerza and poder, power and strength. So thank you, Donna, for all of your years at AAP, for being my colleague, for being my friend. I love you.
Thank you, Lisi. Vincent Guillermo Ramos.
Hi, Donna. Hi, everybody. So I'm Vincent Guillermo Ramos, and so two things are happening right now. One, I am sort of reflecting, Donna, on this moment, but also I'm having a lot of emotions because of what I'm hearing. And so some of my thoughts that were so well organized, I'm not sure how clear they're going to be now, but I'm going to try my best. So when I started writing something, Donna, to express what you have meant to me, I've known you for more than 30 years. It was very hard. It was very hard to capture all the ways that you have impacted my life. And so I want to talk about four dimensions. So the first, I think most folks know, which is really around your leadership in sort of the realm of adolescent sexual and reproductive health, in particular, the prevention of HIV and the treatment of young people living with HIV. You have been iconic. There are many, many examples that folks are familiar with. And I think that contribution will be lasting. And I think Dr. Karen Hine actually started us off with really just sort of bowing a sign of just how much you have contributed to this field and that will be enduring. I think the piece that I want to talk about and build on is clinically. You know, I came to the Adolescent AIDS Program as a new nurse practitioner, and I learned a ton. And I learned a ton because you actually were willing to invest in me, you were willing to train me, willing to help me to become the provider that I am today. And it was an invaluable experience. I think most of what I learned from you and from the setting. And I think part of what I appreciate is I've never met a clinician that was as interested in really being inquisitive about why we do the things that we do, pushing the boundaries in ways that are appropriate, creating sort of new opportunities for understanding how we can better respond, not only to the health conditions that young people face, but also the context in which they live, the community, the family, and some of the inequities that are so pervasive in the work in the Bronx and other places. I would say from your leadership and clinical expertise, you were mentoring me. You were mentoring me formally when I was at AAP, and you were mentoring me long before I arrived at AAP through being a terrific role model and actually signaling that in order to be effective, it was sort of this unique skill set of being able to advocate, of being able to push, when things needed to be pushed, how to create a compelling argument and how to stay strong when things were difficult and challenging. to persist, especially when there was conviction that the work was moving in the right direction. I could say a lot about that impact on my own career. What I will say is that today I feel like I've been able to accomplish many things in my own professional and personal life because of you. And today I'm the Dean of the Duke University School of Nursing. I'm the Vice Chancellor for the Duke Health System for Nursing Affairs. I continue to practice here in Durham in the public health clinic in downtown Durham with adolescents living and at risk for HIV. A lot of what I've implemented is because of the Adolescent AIDS Program and the models, the perspective that you have provided me. And I have adopted from you a real tenacity for pushing and for raising questions and shining light into areas where folks may be less willing to go. Donna, that's all because of you and because of the roadmap that you have actually created for hundreds and hundreds of people. You are my friend, you're my mentor, you're a rock star, and I don't think that I would be here today if it were not for you, Donna. And so thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Vincent. Tracy Naledi, are you with us, Tracy? Okay. Juanita Arens.
Goeienaand. Goeienaand, Donna. Ek mis jou en die Kaap mis jou. So for those of you that don't know what I said, good evening, Donna. I miss you and Cape Town misses you. So it's, Donna, when it comes to you, I always think, good Lord, forever young. How on earth do you get to this point in your life? Because for me and for all of us, forever young. And I want to go back to 2004. I recall meeting you via Brenda Smuts at the time. Our dear colleague was also passed on. And what precious memories meeting you, Donna, a woman of color, growing up on the Cape Flats in Cape Town, in South Africa, meeting someone like you who could not see color. And that is just something that meant the world to me. Your acceptance, your open heart for me, for my colleagues, and we soon transitioned from colleagues to becoming friends. And we used to look so forward to your visits in Cape Town, for you and your work husband, of course, Stephen. And I recall how we would look forward to the fact that we would be able to work hard, checking on how the projects are doing, see where we are at, stimulate thinking, try more ideas and innovations, but also make a little bit of time just to connect. That coffee date, that dinner date, and I suppose that's the thing that was always so precious to me and to our colleagues, is the fact that you always, the two of you always made time. Just really made time. We felt that we were not just another project, but we always felt that we were part of this bigger picture and we were all part of this fight for the same cause. You soon opened your home to me twice, you in Virginia, and precious memories looking down on the Hudson River from your apartment at that time. But the fact that it was just as open, I could walk in there. And I remember the second time I came practically in the middle of the night and yet doors open, welcomed in, and my suitcase was delayed in Washington. I remember you passing on a t-shirt that belonged to Evan at the time. Yes, Evan, I squatted in your t-shirt for a day or so until my luggage arrived. But those are the kinds of memories. I know I can speak forever about the value you've added in Khayelitsha, in Cape Town, the value you've added to us as colleagues. But I just want to honor the fact that it never stopped there. It was more than that. You came to make a difference in our lives as colleagues. You stimulated us, you inspired us, you made a difference in our communities. You're just infectious, in such an awesome way. And your real heart is just something that I will always treasure. And to me, like I said, forever young. And I suppose the last thing I want to say, because Stephen, I'm not going to repeat everything everybody else has said because I can relate to everything, is my daughter said to me the other day, she said, Mom, you've got to check out this series on Netflix. And I'm like, what series? She said, you got to check it out. It's called Pose. And I'm like, Pose? What do I do with Pose? You know, and anyway, and I go and check it out. Oh my gosh. Anna, it took me back to the time, the fight, the battle, the era. And I thought, wow, we've come a long way. You know, we've really come a long way. Today, we brag about our own, you know, trans woman clinic in Bellville that we support, and so much progress has been made in the arena of fighting the battle against HIV and AIDS, of fighting for rights of our LGBTIQ communities, and you've been a pivotal role, you know, and person in the center of it all. So I just want to honor you for that, Donna. Thank you for all that you've done. And Cape Town does miss you. We all miss you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Anita. Jillian Hudsonberg. Jill, are you with us still? I can't see. We might have to come back to Jillian, but Cal Bruns, I think I saw you also. Are you still
here,
with us?
Stephen? Thank you very
Great.
much.
Great.
Yeah. Hi, Donna. It's been a while, eh? When Stephen asked me gave me the invitation to say a little bit of something, I was trying to remember when I met you, Donna, and I just can't. I feel like I've known you for so long. So I guess for the rest of you, I've known Donna since we were both teenagers, not literally, but mentally. We started working on teen projects a long time ago. And Donna, you're one of the few people that finds it really comfortable to put on adolescent shoes and think like a teen. So you're kind of one of my people. I love that. I have no idea what you saw in me or my little company here in Cape Town to help you guys with ACTS and some of the other projects that you've done down here, but I'm really grateful that you trusted your intuition that this crazy guy with a weird beard might be helpful in some ways. I can tell you from my perspective that it's been a completely unfair exchange. I've learned way more from you than I'm absolutely sure you would have ever learned from me. A couple of things that I just want to highlight for everybody here. So the first thing I learned from you is to trust your instincts. You have an amazing ability to surround yourself with unbelievably great people. I mean, Juanita and Jillian from down here, I know just from the ACTS project, Stephen, a dear friend, no idea how you found Stephen, amazing. And that you guys are just such a powerhouse couple, I guess, if one could say that about a work wife and work husband. But it's been inspiring and great. The other thing I learned from you is the power of obvious. And speaking of the ACTS project, when you invited me to come down and learn a little bit more about it, you were doing a workshop where you were training some nurses, but you were not doing it in a hotel, conference room. You were doing it in an amazing craft warehouse and workshop that used HIV positive people as artists, making unbelievable bead things. And so your money was spent there. And I thought, that is so obvious, but it's so brilliant. Like almost no one thinks of that. They rush off to the Ramada or the Hilton or whatever to do their things. And it really inspired me to rethink how we think about simple things and how even simple things can make big differences. In the end, I just want to let you know that because one of our clients, Levi's, needed a global gift to give all of their employees, we because of that introduction, we hired Will and Nani, and they made things that went around the world to all these Levi's shops. And that never would have happened if I hadn't met you, Donna. So, your influence is well beyond the HIV and AIDS world. There are a whole bunch of people in retail shops selling cool jeans that can thank you for their little gift. And lastly, the thing that I think I've personally taken the most from you, I learned in Kailicha when you and I and Stephen were filming some things that you were going to use in the clinic lobbies. And I remember we were talking, and you were saying something, and then you just suddenly stopped talking. And I'm sure you don't remember this, but you stopped talking because one of the nurses there was trying to explain something to us. And what you taught me is the power of shutting up. And it's an amazing power. You know, it really is. I mean, I know everyone knows you as Donna the charismatic, Donna the boisterous, Donna that talks with her hands and everything, and, you know, is always busy. But you have this uncanny ability to be empathetic and shut up just at the right time and listen. And I think that's probably made you so great as the head of adolescent AIDS, because nobody needs us to shut up more than young adolescents who just don't get listened to enough and are very shy. So thank you for the thousands and thousands of South Africans whose lives you've changed. I'm with Juanita on that. Cape Town misses you. I was privileged to come and visit you guys in Montefiore, and you know, I am 100% sure that there are soul brothers and sisters in New York City who thank you for all the work that you've done over the decades as well. And I just want you to promise at least me one thing, that even though you're retiring, that every once in a while you'll kind of come around and keep us honest and kick us in the butt and say you can do better. Because you know what, that inspires me, knowing that you're watching out and making sure that I'm not getting lazy. So thanks, Donna. I'm gonna miss you, but you're coming down here anyway, so we'll share a really beautiful bottle of wine and have some fun.
Thank you, Cal. Dr. Mitch Besser.
Hey, Donna. Thanks, Stephen. It is just so lovely to be part of these tributes and just listen to Donna being lauded. You know, I reflect that what I remember best is the conversations and how hard it must be for you, Donna, just to listen to all these wonderful accolades without being able to respond. But what I hear over and over really are two themes, and it's about work and it's about the fun and the love. And if I think about the work part, we met in 2000 in a little clinic at Grooteskier Hospital in Cape Town when I was there as a clinician and you were sitting there, and I said, would you like to join me to see what's going on here? And you were just so generous in your willingness to be a part of it. And that word generous keeps coming up as people keep talking. But I remember the conversations that we had in the clinic and approaching you at one point saying, I have this idea about a program with mothers and mothers-to-be, and how supportive you were, and how your support in those first days of Mothers to Mothers really effectively launched the program. You were one of our first board members. And I remember in the years that followed, you hosted, I think, on the occasion of your 20th or 30th birthday, a party in your living room where we raised money for Mothers to Mothers that eventually generated a video that we used to sell the program to other people. I used to stay in your flat when I came to New York, and you were part of the heart and soul of Mothers to Mothers in those very first formative days. But if that's the work part, the other part is the family part, the fun. And I remember you coming to town and you and Stephen coming to town, and it was always the occasion for an otherwise senseless party. There was always both memorable and not. And that our kids went to the same schools. And again, you came to Shabbos at our house for dinner, but you became part of our lives and part of our families. And it spread from New York all the way to Cape Town. And God, I'll miss that. But I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, both professionally and personally, for everything that you've meant to me for the last 20 years. And of course, to Mothers. And I wouldn't be who I am, and we wouldn't be where we are today without your extraordinary impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Frank Beadle.
Donna, it's very nice to be able to say some words to you and to all the folks who adore you. I actually started thinking about when did I first meet Donna, and I actually met Donna in the early 90s in the New York Prevention Planning Group process. As we were talking about the populations that were missing at that time. And of course, the word that Donna always said, adolescence, and made sure that not only did we understand that adolescents weren't at the table, that they were being ignored, but she made sure we knew everything about them. And she made sure that we understood that there wasn't enough science, we had data, we needed to do more. And I worked with Donna on and off through that process, but never really that closely. I never would have realized that 20 years later, I would start to work with Donna quite closely because I became part of this organization that she so loved and put so much of her energy and her life into. And interestingly, once I came to Mothers to Mothers in 2012 and got to know Donna more, I realized that my wife had actually known Donna through her work at the National Association of People with AIDS as they launched adolescent programming. And Donna was an incredible advisor that helped them in that space. One of the things that I wanted to just to point out, and I think everyone has heard it, is in addition to the incredible professionalism, the fact that Donna always makes sure that science and evidence base is at the forefront. She makes sure that client outcomes are at the top of what everyone is paying attention to. But more importantly, she does it with pure compassion. And that was always evident when she was in South Africa, when she was out of sight. She knew the mentor mothers, she knew the staff. The staff loved engaging with her. They always looked for her. When Donna was in town, they knew it and they loved it, and she loved them. Mothers to Mothers was a small organization that grew quite quickly. Donna was a board member. She became our chair for many years, and I had the privilege of working with her in that role quite closely as a CEO. We are celebrating our 20 years, and we've reached 13.5 million women and children. And the large majority of those clients were reached under Donna's leadership as a board member. We also began our adolescent program, I think in tribute to Donna, but also making sure that we honor Donna quite with doing some really good work for people that she cares about. In my closing words, to say that I can't believe that she's retiring. I think in reality, there is no retirement for Donna. And I think that she has touched so many people, but the most important tribute, the most important thing that we can all do in honor of Donna and to continue to shower our love to her is to keep caring about those that she's cared about, to keep loving what she loved, and to make sure that compassion is always what drives us forward, because that is what we will always remember when we hear the name Donna. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Frank. Very nice. Dr. Ken Mayer.
Thank you, Stephen. So when they make the movie, they're going to cast Bette Midler, I think, in the role of Donna Futterman. You know, Donna is a force of nature. She's effervescent, and she has really been a thought leader for these many decades. I had the pleasure of knowing Donna for getting on to 4 decades as both being docs who were involved early in the care of people with HIV. You've heard about Donna having an impact in South Africa, but really global impact. There are a number of people in Asia who are setting up adolescent clinics that I referred to Donna, who was always exceedingly generous with her time to talk to them about what was the model at Montefiore. Donna and I got to work together in the Adolescent Trials Network, but even more importantly, I think, in terms of some of the global impacts, Donna was really one of the first clinicians to recognize the incredible importance of HIV testing and was a loud and persistent advocate. You heard from Bernie Branson at the outset of the hour, and it's really hard to underestimate how important Donna's advocacy was, because people were just not paying enough attention about trying to figure out how to get testing out into the community, and particularly for young people, and thinking about creative models. And Donna innovated, iterated, and advocated, and really had a big impact in changing policies. people may not remember that U.S. Preventive Service Task Force didn't consider HIV testing of people on a regular basis to be particularly cost effective, and really to try to assemble the knowledge base for that took a fair amount of advocacy on the part of people, and Donna was really one of the national leaders. Another part of our relationship, though, is the fun part, and I don't know how indiscreet to be about some of the opportunities at some of the various meetings. I just remember a wild night of fun and frolic in the San Diego Zoo, one of our Gay and Lesbian Medical Association meetings, under various influences that are all legal now at the present time, thank goodness. And one of the most poignant moments that we got to experience together, which will always be a highlight of our lives, I think, was being invited, thanks to Greg Millett, to the first observation of LGBTQ Pride Week at the White House, and getting to see President Obama up close and personal, and realizing the potential of what this country can be, even if we're living through more challenging times now. So Donna, you know, it's hard to think of you as retired, so we're just really looking forward to seeing what your next incarnation is going to be. And thank you for all you've done till now.
Thank you, Ken. Is Isa Fernandez on the call?
Yes, I am, Stephen.
Hey.
Thank you. I'm actually amazingly touched, but not surprised by all of the wonderful recollections and thoughts and stories about Donna. I'm going to take it a little bit differently. I'm going to be much more personal. Donna, you're my sister, mi hermanita, my role model, and my dearest friend. For such a long time, you have been a commanding authority and a very powerful voice in the global fight against HIV since the very early days, when there were few treatments and all we could offer was hope, compassion, and advocacy. So as you move to these new adventures, know that your torch will continue to shine brightly through the policy changes enacted from your advocacy efforts, the research advances that have resulted from all of your contributions, the students, faculty, and colleagues you have passionately mentored, but above all, the many lives you have touched and transformed. I know you're going to keep fighting. I know you're going to keep dreaming, but I want you to take time and enjoy the daily. Come down to Miami. I promise to show you a great time. I love you, Donna. And thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Isa. Tracy Naledi, are you with us? Tracy? No. Linda Villarosa?
Hi, Donna. Hi, everyone. What a wonderful way to spend the afternoon. Hi, Terry. I am a contributing writer for the New York Times Magazine, where I cover race, health, and inequality now. But in the early 90s, I was an editor of Essence Magazine. I had decided that journalism was BS. It wasn't doing enough to help the HIV AIDS movement, and I was going to be a doctor. So people said, okay, you need to do two things before you make this decision to quit your job and go try to be a doctor. The first one was volunteer somewhere, make sure that you want to be an AIDS doc. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to the Adolescent AIDS, program. And I did. I was a volunteer there for, I guess, maybe 8 months. And it was really wonderful, very moving. The second thing people said was take a math class, which I did, and realized that I really shouldn't be a doctor because I'm bad at math. And so I let that go. And then I eventually moved to the New York Times newspaper. And in 2001, I got assigned to do a story on teenagers living with HIV. So I remembered where I had been a volunteer. I went back to Monty, to the program, and interviewed Donna. And it was an interview that went so far beyond just the work, just the people that, you know, and the clients and patients. And I actually talked to her about why she did the work she does and got extremely inspired. Did the story, it ran in 2001. I looked at it today and I didn't think it was terrible. So on my part, and wonderful, Donna's comments, patience, everything. I now do this work for the New York Times Magazine, and I also train journalists. And one thing I say to journalists who want to do this kind of social justice oriented medical reporting is always ask the person who you're interviewing, the expert, not just it's not a transaction to just get a quote. It should be ask them about their work and their passion and why they got into the work they do. And I give the example of my interview with Donna and her work, her passion and what's behind it. So I thank you for that. You know, I think it's making us as journalists think in a different way. I credit you with that in my life. And I wish you all the best in your retirement, which I know won't really be an actual retirement, but, you know, sending you a lot of love.
Thank you, Linda. Uri Belkins.
Hi, hi Donna. I'm so happy I get to speak today. I never imagined I would one day hear that you were retiring, but then again, nobody deserves this more than you. I just want to share the story of the day I finally got to meet you. I knew about you for a while before we met, and it was during my interview for my adolescent medicine fellowship at Montefiore. And, you know, long story short, throughout the day, we rescheduled our meeting 2 to 3 times because it happened to be the day that New York Times reported the kickoff of the Bronx Knows campaign. I remember, you know, stepping around TV and newspaper crews and cameras to get to your office. And that kind of sealed the deal for me. I knew I wanted to be close to that. But you know, that's not what I remember most. What I remember most is your warmth. You apologized so many times for having to reschedule our interview. You said something along the lines of, you know, I know how important this is for you, and I'm sorry that all of this is taking away from that. And that, you know, really touched my heart. Now that I've known you for a little over a decade, I realize that statistically speaking, there's a great chance that any given day, wonderful and exciting and huge and momentous things would be happening around you and because of you. Don, I know we've had really limited opportunities to interact, and yet I cherish our relationship beyond, you know, what words can convey. You have been a mentor, a guiding light, and a friend, and I'm certain that my life and my career would be very different today if I hadn't met you. So thank you for that. Congratulate you for everything you've done. I wish you with much love the best in this next stage, and I'm sure our paths will continue to cross, and I really look forward to that. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Uri. Antigone Dempsey, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, great.
Donna, it's so nice to see you on the screen. So, you know, it's been wonderful hearing everything. And one of the things many of you have talked about is your work, Donna, with youth-led initiatives. And I guess I'm here to represent one of those youth that was a young woman when I was 22 years old. I just was diagnosed with HIV. And Donna, you were one of the people that were at the meetings that I went to. I was very overwhelmed as a young woman, you know, flown to Washington, D.C. To talk about issues of young people, but you were there. I can't even remember the first time I met you, but you were always there, and you were always so respectful, and you listened to what I said, and you created space for our voices. And I just need you to know how important that was, because I really feel that, you know, I am able to do the work I'm doing today because of that. And I also just want to speak for all the young people that you cared for and those that didn't make it. And just to say that your care for them and the fact that you're able to hold them with the love and kindness and respect that you did was such a gift. And I'm sure there's a lot of mixed feelings, you know, because of what we all have gone through and how much we lost. And I feel like I need to speak for all of them as well. And so please know that you affected so many people, and I'm excited for you in your next stage. I can't wait to hear about it, because I know that retirement is not retirement anymore. So I'm just so grateful to be able to say a few words. Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Antigone. Joanne Morn, are you with us?
I am with you.
Oh, great.
Hi, I apologize for no camera, but I hope my smile and my love just comes through my voice. Donna, what can I say? You know, so listening to your friends and to your colleagues, it's just amazing that so many of us have been so touched by you. And, you know, looking at all of the faces and the screens, your influence and your love have changed the lives across the globe. I mean, how many people can say that? So I just want to say to you that I am so grateful. You know, you always reached out to me. You always offered your support. You're a model, you're a mentor. But most importantly, as I listen to everyone, and as I know from my own experience, what you've been to us that means the most is you've been a trusted friend. And I'm so excited for you as you look at this next chapter. And I want to say to you that only success can continue to come from all of the people and all of the places that you have touched and that you have grown and that you have influenced, because you have taught us all so much. I'm grateful for everything. And I'm honored to be able to say a few words today. So please, you know, take those couple days of your retirement and enjoy them. And then we'll look for you to be consulting in any number of ways. Donna, we love you. Thank you for everything. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of today.
Thank you, Joanne. Dr. Monica Sweeney, are you still with us?
I'm still with you.
Yay, great.
Hi. I am so happy to be able, thank you, Stephen, for doing this. It is just wonderful hearing all the stories, because I know all the attributes, all of the adjectives. I was listing the adjectives hoping I wouldn't repeat them, but they've been repeated so many times. I'll just add them into my stories. So I worked very closely with Donna. I knew her before the Bronx Nose, but I worked very closely with Donna on the Bronx Nose, the largest testing, I was going to say campaign, but activity at the time in the United States. In the Bronx, we tested over 1 million people, and that's because of Donna and her work husband. And I will tell you that I got beaten up a few times. And I will tell you why I was beaten up, even by politicians in Brooklyn who said, why did you start testing your major testing activities in the Bronx when you're from Brooklyn? And every time I answered with the same answer, because of Donna Futterman. Donna had already identified the need. She'd already been working on broadening testing. And she came to me when I was Assistant Commissioner of Health for HIV/AIDS and asked me to come to the Bronx to help expand testing. And we worked very closely together. Donna is a visionary. Any of you already know. She is an advocate and she's an activist and she has humor and she's enthusiastic and passionate, and the list goes on. But I'm going to make this very short because they didn't give me all the time I need, but none of us had all the time we need. Donna is a leader, and I'm going to use someone else's definition. I can't remember for sure if it was John Quincy or John Quincy Adams, but one of them said, you are a leader if your actions activate others to do more, no, to learn more, to do more, to encourage others to do more, and to become more. And so we know Donna's a leader for everyone on who knows her. And the other thing that I will say is that she probably is not retiring. People like Donna have a hard time retiring. And with all that she has going on, that all that she has done for so many in so many places, retirement is highly unlikely, although I welcome her because I'm supposed to be retired. I just will tell you one other thing. When my granddaughter was going to South Africa to spend a semester, I reached out to Donna. And Donna was so forthcoming with so much information that made her semester there so much better. So she just goes on, whether it's personal or professional, and does all that she can for as many as she can. And I'm sure she'll do it as long as she can. I just will close with quoting one of the wisest men that's ever lived, as far as history says. And that is King Solomon, who says in Ecclesiastes, every person should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor. These are gifts from God. You have earned it, Donna. Enjoy your gift and enjoy your retirement. And you will be missed, but you're not leaving the earth. You are leaving your job, and we should all be able to contact you when we will need you, as many of us still will. All the best to you. Thank you, Stephen, for putting me in the list.
Absolutely. Thanks, Monica. Jillian Hudsonberg, I'm going to circle back. Did you come back? Jill, are you with us? No. Again, apologies to the crowd, but there's so many people here. It's hard to see who is and isn't here. Jill, you are with us. Great.
I am. I'm sorry I'm traveling, but I didn't want to miss this for the world. Donna, thank you, Steve. Donna, it's been such a privilege and an honor to work with you. Thank you for granting us the opportunity in South Africa to learn to know about you and your program. You were breaking barriers when everyone thought it would be impossible. You always strive to streamline, allow those who require the services of HIV and AIDS to make it more accessible for them. Our time and the time spent on the program, the traveling, are things that I still long for. We really miss you in South Africa. You and Stephen has become or were part of our
Jill, if you can hear me, Jill, you've got a bad connection, but thank you for your words. Thank you for popping in. If we get a better connection, we'll have you come back. I'd like to move over to... Yeah.
Can you hear me, Steve?
Yeah, go for it.
It's not always about our favorite joke is it's not always black and white, Jill. There's always some color in between. And we know what that meant. And you brought the color to our life. Really, you inspired us. We've become family friends. Our families loved you because you were always inclusive. And for that, we will always remember you. And as the speaker just said, that your fruits of your labor is what you need to enjoy now moving forward. I wish you well. I wish your family well. And may they be blessed in abundance in years to come for the work that you have done. I thank you so much and love you always.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you. Colleagues from Montefiore, again, apologies because I can't see everyone who's here, but Dr. Peter Simchek, are you with us? No. Dr. Hatcher, I see you, so could we have a few words?
Sure. So Donna, On behalf of Montefiore, as the research director and associate dean at Einstein, I'd like to thank you for your significant contribution to the Adolescent AIDS Program, which provides medical and supportive care for youth between 13 and 24, including HIV counseling and testing, coordinated healthcare, comprehensive medical care for HIV youth, and comprehensive medical care. Donna and I worked behind the scenes. I mean, I was one of those as research director. In other words, we worked on, as the administrative assistant, putting all the grants together. In other words, all these grants from the feds, the state, the foundations, we worked together. Donna actually wrote them and everything else, but I was responsible to actually put them in when they get funded, also administratively follow them financially. And it was really a challenge. As you know, Donna was very, very successful. And many of the successes were actually due to these grants, which she got over there, millions and millions of dollars. I remember certain things. I was just thinking a few minutes ago, one of the things that I remember working with Donna with was picking the tests, the AIDS tests. I can remember the weeks and weeks in discussion, the costs of this test, the cost of that test, which we also discussed also, another challenge that Donna and I worked on was really paying the rent in the facility. It was always a challenge. In other words, who was going to pay the rent? And most of the rent actually came from the grants. Another challenge that Donna and I worked with was actually working with the administration in the pediatric department, which Donna and I she'll really understand what I'm talking about. It was a challenge. It was always a challenge. So I was one of the behind the scenes persons. And I was not somebody that you may have known or you didn't know, but at Montefiore, there are people like myself who really, in other words, are responsible for putting things together, getting the money together and everything else. So I know a lot of people want to talk, but Donna, you've always stood up to the plate and you've all been very successful. In closing, I'd like to congratulate you on your upcoming retirement. And I'll miss you as an investigator, but I'll also miss you as a friend because we were friends over these many, many, many years. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Hatcher. Sonolia Brown.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Sonolia.
Hi, I'm Shanolia Brown. I am the administrator for the Department of Pediatrics. Dr. Futterman was one of the first meetings I had when I started at Montefiore about 5 years ago. And I remember being impressed with AAP's reputation, the scope of services, and Dr. Futterman's robust grant portfolio. I also remember how excited she was to tell me about the history of the program and the great work that she's doing and the AAP staff were doing. Dr. Futterman, I know how much love and time you gave to Montefiore and to the program. I'm not sure what retirement will look like for you, but I'm happy that I was able to work with you, and I am really excited for you. On behalf of the administrative staff of the Department of Pediatrics, we all want to thank you for the great work that you've done and for the legacy that you're leaving with us. Congratulations.
Thank you, Sonolia. Paul Meisner.
Hi, Donna. Nice to see you and everybody here. You know, Donna and I had really parallel careers. And as we kind of work to out in the community and to not create this kind of medical specialty environment, but to really mainstream so much of what was HIV care. And, you know, I came to Montefiore in 1990, that basically pretty much the same time as Donna was really taking over the leadership of the Adolescent AIDS Program. And we just collaborated, and it was a really lovely thing. And I think we made our way through so many different issues. I remember we were always talking about transitioning kids who aged out and providing support to them in the, you know, in both the special environment of the adolescent AIDS and then also in what now is the Montefiore Medical Group kind of structures. We worked very closely on mainstreaming the HIV testing and even, you know, putting together this as both a service delivery program, but also a research grant that we were really looking to for the outcomes and very interested in seeing how this was going to work. And obviously at that time, I had a privilege of working a lot with Stephen and learning about all sorts of marketing kind of concepts from Stephen. But I think that really what comes through when you listen to everybody here is that what Donna does, she does with love. And it was really based on love that really how she moves and what was moving her and how she moved us. So I really look forward to seeing how Donna goes to the next episode of Love.
Thanks, Paul. I'm going to right now show a recorded tribute from Dr. Liz Alderman, who is the chief of the adolescent division at the Department of Pediatrics at Montefiore. So let's hope that I don't have a technical difficulty. But
hi, I'm Liz Alderman, the chief of adolescent medicine. And Donna, I'm so sorry that I am missing this celebration of your career on a well-deserved retirement. But I want to say a few words to you and also to the group, because I don't know if it's been said before, but Donna Futterman has been in Einstein a really long time. She started as a medical student in 1981 and then became a pediatric resident when she graduated. And at the time, I met Donna because I was an intern and she was a third year. We never worked together, but we definitely knew each other. And I remember a really good friend of mine who was a resident had worked with Donna and said that Donna was going to be a leader one day because she was such an advocate for her patients, even back then as a pediatric resident in the social pediatrics program. In 1988, when she graduated, she went on to a fellowship in infectious disease at one of the two epicenters of the pediatric AIDS epidemic back then. I mean, Bronx was one, and Donna went to do her fellowship in New Jersey. And we were lucky enough to have her come back to the Bronx in 1988 to become the medical director of the Adolescent AIDS Program. And during that time, she worked with Karen Hine to really build the program. And when Karen Hine moved on, Donna became the director of the Adolescent AIDS Program in 1994. So Donna's been director of the Adolescent AIDS Program for 27 years. And during that tenure, she has been a superb advocate, program builder, clinician, researcher, visionary, colleague. And I can't believe you're retiring because, you know, it's just been so many years, but it's well deserved. And I know you're going to go on to do some other things as well as an advocate and standing up for people who really don't have anyone to stand up for them. I mean, back in the late 1980s, adolescents, I mean, anyone with HIV really needed someone to take their side and promote programs and medications and other types of help that would better their lives, create lives that would be infinite, or I mean, we're all not infinite, but to grow. I mean, all the adolescents that you helped, adolescents with HIV and AIDS, that you helped grow into adulthood and become productive adults. It's amazing and a tremendous legacy. On behalf of the Division of Adolescent Medicine, I want to present you with this plaque. It's backwards, but it says Division of Adolescent Medicine honors Donna Futterman, MD, Professor of Pediatrics, for visionary leadership, Adolescent AIDS Program, 1989 to 2021, with gratitude and appreciation for your service and commitment to patients and families. Congratulations on your retirement. And I can't say it enough, Donna. I've learned so much from you over the years, and I hope that we continue to work together in different capacities. And I wish you the best. And I hope that for at least a few months, you'll take some time for yourself and just relax and enjoy your family and have some well-deserved downtime. But I know you'll keep in touch and there's more to do. Good luck, take care, and congratulations.
That's great. Twee No, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
So thank you, Stephen, for having this ceremony for all of us to join. I'm Thùy from Vietnam, from Worldwide Orphans Foundation, and I got to know Donna when she came with a team of 5 students from Albert Einstein in the summer of 2019. And although I only met her for a little bit more than 2 weeks, I think I found a friend for the rest of my life. And I would like to quote Dr. Paul Meissner that what Donna does is for love, with love. Everything she does comes so easy. I didn't feel any pressure to work with her as a consultant who came to help us conduct an external review on our positive youth development program for HIV youth in Vietnam. And what she did together with her students was more than that. Even if we are still using the tools and the outcomes of the external review until today, what Donna left in Vietnam for us is more than that, is the love she has for our country, which is my privilege. I don't know why. She has a special love for Vietnam, but also for the population of HIV infected youth in our country too. So we still keep our friendship until today. And also it is a very low maintenance friendship because we talk on Facebook and we follow our steps. And I feel very, very supported because all the work we do is celebrated also by Donna and her students. So I wish you a great episode ahead. And I hope to see you soon again together with maybe another group of students, because I think you will never totally retire. You will only take on different role, and it will not change the nature of your work and your love for youth across the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Twee. Cornelius Baker, are you with us? No. Jalav Serrano? Jalav, I know you're traveling. Luna Ortiz?
I'm here. Just pass somebody, and then I'll come back.
Okay. Zoel? No. Yesenia Acosta. Yesenia, are you with us?
Yep, right here, right here.
Okay, great.
There's a picture of me and Donna and my oldest, Neville. You see it? Yeah, you can see it. What's up, Donna? I love you. I don't know what to say at these things. I was 16 years old when I met you back in 1989 in the Adolescent Medicine Program. I don't know. I was admitted a bunch of times. You were my doctor. You were my friend. You were my mama. You were everything because I was living in a group home. So like, you were like the people that I would go to. You and Dina and Neil. And I remember everybody that worked there and so supportive at the Wayne House, I think it's called. I forgot. But everything was really cool. I started following you since you were in that clinic inside the building of the Montefiore, and I will go every Tuesday, a Tuesday clinic. And we started a support group called TLC. I named it. So that was pretty cool. Can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, I know that I was raised by wolves, but like I'm a better person because I met Donna, and I feel really happy to have known her, to have met her. She knows me very well. She knows all about my family, and like even though I was HIV positive, like HIV doesn't have anything on me. Like I'm still here, still kicking, taking my meds. I still go to my doctors. I follow all of her advice to continue taking my meds, continue going to clinics, taking care of myself. I have a husband. I have 2 more kids, so now I got 3. And all thanks to the medications that that I take over time, and I follow my regimen. I always go to my doctors. I got my psychotherapy. I got everything, dealing with all the PTSD and all that other stuff that happens. I was a child, but I'm so happy that Donna is always like a presence in my life wherever I see her. This is the show that my oldest, the one with the red hat, that's Neville, grew up to be a he, I guess, maybe is a trans man. Yeah, Neville. Neville grew up going to the clinic with me, and we used to do like what's that called? Talent shows in December. Like the Christmas party was the bomb. Oh man, I miss those Christmas parties, Donna. Oh, dang, like I would invite my whole family because I was like, oh, there's gonna be so much food and gifts for the kids. Oh man, and I'd be there, and even though it was like, it was just to see you. It was just to see Donna. I just wanted to see Donna. I just wanted to be around her every chance I got because at the end there, the Wayne House, it was all about like, where's Donna? Because Donna was gone to South Africa, somewhere in the world. Donna was. She became Waldo. Like, where's Donna? We don't know. Like, no, she was like Carmen San Diego. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? Where in the world is Donna? So where is she this week? When can we see Donna? When can we see Donna? So it was like a very big deal when we got to see Donna at December for the Christmas party. And then I got to sing and show off my skills and dance a little. I was so happy all the time. Every time I see her, it brings me a good memory because she was there through the most painful parts of my life when I was a teenager suffering and not knowing what HIV was. I never heard of it. And they explained it to me. She was there through my most painful spinal tap. I think she performed it. I don't remember very well, but I think it was very painful. And she was trying to help me out because I was getting some sort of seizures and headaches. But like, she's an amazing person. whatever's going on with her right now, and she's gonna go move on to do whatever else she does. I hope that she's peaceful, that she is restful, that she is not in pain, that she is happy, that her life is the best that she ever had, and to know that all this love showering on her is coming from the heart. I love you, Donna. I love you so much. You're my mama. You're my friends. You're my everything. And I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yesenia. That's so awesome. What a great tribute. Dr. Ligia Peralta.
My gosh, after Jesse, how can I do this? Donna, I also asked the young people who served with you during the Heating the Skins campaign. You all remember that with the Congressional Black Caucus right here in Baltimore. How would you describe Donna Futterman? And the words are just like you heard: love, transformative, selfless, revolutionary, insightful, trailblazer, leader. This is what it came from the people, the young people that you touch since that time. But Donna, you're from the Bronx to the world. And I want to expand a little bit more about the world, not only Africa and South Africa where we met, but you are the woman who opened the doors for many of us to do more things than what we thought we could do. You're the model of that kind of accomplished, highly educated woman, yet a fighter for justice, inequality, innovation, compassion, and humility. And you push all of us to do better because you are the champion of the unpopular causes, clinically, scientifically, socially. When things didn't go well, Donna was there to not only mentor us, being the coach behind all of that. And with that in mind, not only we expanded our program here in Baltimore, but we also engage her to do even more because we haven't spoken about all the things she has done in the Caribbean. In my own native Dominican Republic, they adore you because they know that you have been my mentor, but also because you are the gold star of craftsmanship of words, presenting complicated data in a very engaging way, and at the same time writing about complex issues like sexuality with elegance. So I also asked myself, what can we give from the world to Donna? So there are two things from Baltimore, Maryland. The governor of Maryland would like to send you a citation from the work and all the mentoring that you have done for people like me. And the second one is because you are so famous and everybody really knows who you are. The president of the Dominican Republic said he would give you the medal that is for science, and we will ship that to you as an innovator, the woman with the touch of mentoring for her peers, no matter where in the world, and the educator and international leader. So we salute you today, Donna, and thank you for that friendship and for being there always for us in bad times and good times. The salute to you.
Thank you, Ligia. Wow. Jalove Serrano.
Hello, 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 everybody. Oh my God, this was a great family reunion. I am like a ball of emotions right now because hearing every testimony so far, I'm just like, what? Well, first of all, Mama, she's big Mama Bear. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for the love and support that you poured into the HIV positive community, the adolescent community. Being at the Adolescent AIDS Program, starting out as a peer educator, and then becoming a client, which felt right, felt like family. That from Mama Pat to Mama Lisi to you, just like the the love and care that I've received at the Adolescent AIDS Program, from being a peer educator to then being part of the family, I take it with me everywhere. In my adult care, I celebrated this year 35 years of age and also 20 years living with HIV. And if I had not disclosed to Lisi and became a client at the Adolescent AIDS Program, I don't know where I would be today. And because of how you model that program, I take that with me everywhere. Like I walk into places where like, I don't understand why the staff doesn't treat me like family. I don't understand why I don't feel the love when I walk through the door. You definitely spoiled me and anyone who walked through that door for care, how they should be treated as a human being. And it is so sad that that does not happen everywhere, but you taught me to be a value, to feel valuable as an HIV positive person, that I'm more than just my diagnoses. And I stand here today as a proud, Black, gay, HIV positive man, full, engaged in my health, undetectable, and it's all because of love and care, how you taught me from living outside of my stigma. Like the stigma got me so bad that I didn't want to engage in my care, but because of how you taught the staff to love and treat us like human beings, I feel I carry that every day, every second through my fiber of my being. I thank you. I thank you so much. Please, please enjoy retirement, okay? Listen, I know they say you'll retire, but let me tell you something, all right? This HIV and AIDS world could be so beautiful, but it also could be so so much on your spirit, right? And you deserve this time for peace, to be somewhere on a private island, enjoying some sun and sand like I am. And I'm just so happy that you were able to retire in grace, and all these communities of people just coming around to rally around you and love on you. And I love you so, so much. Thank you. I can never thank you enough. Thank you for, again, teaching me how to love myself. So when I walk into spaces, I make sure that other people feel that same love. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jala. Wow. Dr. Asa Radix.
Hi, everyone. Donna, I'm so happy that I can be here despite a very busy day, but I'm so glad that I can be here for this tribute and celebration of all the work that you've done. And also, it's been amazing just to hear how many people have been touched by your presence. And I certainly am part of that. You know, I've known you since I first came to New York, and that was in 2006. And you probably don't remember this, but we met in the mayor's office. And I was so impressed with everything that you brought to that first meeting. So for those of you who don't know of the many, many, many things that Donna has done, she also serves on as a committee member for the American Conference for Treatment of HIV, which is another area that I really got to know her incredibly well. And I can say that her presence really transformed that conference. Like, we always have something on adolescent health, which is obviously very important. You know, I've seen you start, when you think like, what else can you do? I see you start new programs. You started such an impressive trans health program at Monty, and that's going to continue. So, I mean, I think that's, again, part of your legacy. I mean, you've been an advocate for so many issues and causes through the years, and you've always been incredibly generous with your time. You've always been available whenever we've needed your help. I mean, we just came running to your office just a few weeks ago for help with one of our studies, and you've never said no. You know, you've been such a supporter of Cal and Lloyd, and I actually had, I just wanted to put up a picture, so I'm gonna, hopefully it will come up. For those of you who can't see, this is Donna getting an award. She was one of our first awardees at Spring Fever at Cal and Lloyd, and really just to honor, again, all the work that you've done. So, you know, this retirement is so well deserved for you, but, you know, Well, I want to say you're going to be missed, but I know you're not going away. And there's going to be a next big adventure, and of course we all want to know what that is. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much. You've been such a tremendous colleague and friend, mentor. I mean, there's so many things I can say, but I need to give time for the others, probably a couple hundred people who also want to say something. So thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Asa. Melanie Thompson.
I am so happy to be here today. Donna, we've known each other a long time. I don't even remember when we met. We've known each other for so long. And we've spent many good times together around the world at meetings, dinners in international and other locations in the US, walking through the Bronx to an awesome restaurant with Asa one night. There's so many memories, but it's fitting that I should follow Asa, because what I was really going to say is that this whole thing about retirement is just kind of bogus. It's great to have a celebration, and this is quite a celebration, but you're not retired, actually. You and I are working on a symposium for ACT HIV right now, and I have been told that you are really not going away. So, I really appreciate all that you've done, but I appreciate you here in the present for all you are doing. And, I've learned so much from you as a friend and as an advocate. We sat on the board of the HIV Medicine Association, and all these proposals would come up and everybody would nod and say, yeah, that sounds great. And Donna would say, wait, that's not going to work for adolescents. What are you thinking? That's impossible. And, always being the voice in the room to bring up the hard things and to bring reality to the situation. And that has been a true gift from you. And I really do appreciate your advocacy, your smarts, your humor, and that you always have a smile and a supportive word, no matter the situation. And it's just been awesome to learn from you. You were kind in sharing information about Bronx Knows when we were working on our In the Epidemic plan back in 1917, 18, whenever it was, 19. Turns out Georgia doesn't have the appetite for testing that the Bronx had. That was quite a shock. But you were so helpful in sharing that information and sharing everything. You never say no, and it's really terrific. So I just want to say, in addition to all of the adjectives that people have thrown out to me, what I know about you is that you have the biggest heart in the world, and that drives everything you do. And it's just been such a pleasure to know you and love you over the years. So get back to work and answer my emails.
Thanks, Melanie. Is Jose Davila with us? Jose? No. Marjorie Hill? I see you, Marjorie. Hi. Marjorie, you're muted.
Hi, what a pleasure to be here virtually. And I don't know how you did it, Stephen, get all those people and get us through this program, because each of us could talk about Donna for an hour, but we don't have an hour. So I just want to say, Donna, you've been a tremendous ally, an incredible advocate, fierce advocate, I think is what I want to say, a delightful person to plan and sometimes disagree with. We had one or two of those. but I have always admired your dedication, your courage, your commitment to speak for those who could not speak for themselves. And I look forward to see what retirement brings, because I know you're not one for sitting still and being quiet. But I really want to thank you personally and on behalf of our community for all the years of outstanding service. And if nothing else, I want to add, you have been such a mentor for many people, but particularly for young people, and particularly for young people living with HIV and AIDS, and at a time when that wasn't popular. So all the best, much success, and I owe you a drink. Take care.
Thank you, Marjorie. Tim Rasta.
Hello. Stephen,
Hello.
thank you for putting this all together. I so appreciate it. You know, when Stephen first reached out to me, probably like most of the people on this call, I was like, I really don't have time for this bullshit, but I realized I'm on the West Coast and, you know, I can still make it to happy hour. So what the heck? I mean, here I am. It's interesting. A few of the people on this call said they don't remember the moment when they first met Donna. And I was trying to think back, and I don't remember when I first met you, Donna. I don't know if it was a march. I don't know. It was an AIDS conference. I don't know. But the one thing is, as soon as I met you, I knew that, you know, I had to be a part of this woman's life and she had to be a part of mine. So I sort of quickly involved her in Lifebeat, the music industry fights AIDS. And, you know, I like to say that Lifebeat is an organization that took an important message and wrapped it in a little pop culture and delivered it in a way that young people would access it and understand it. So the pop culture was concert venues, it was television specials on VH1, MTV, but the message was Donna's. That's what we were rapping. That's what we were delivering. We would always, I mean, she's so busy. I can't believe how many boards you're on. And you knew she was busy, but you'd always ask her, can you look over the content in this PSA? Can you look over what we're saying on the screen in this show? And she always had time to do it. She always made the time to do it. She always did it in such an incredible way. And, you know, you made a difference. I think that you're still making a difference. You'll always make a difference. You know, there's so many talented people on this call. I mean, there's so many smart, skillful people. And it's pretty amazing. And, you know, Donna is certainly one of those smart, skillful people. But I think even more than that, you know, it's that charisma, it's those dimples, it's that twinkle in her eye, it's that laugh. It just draws you in. You have to be a part of her world, right? You literally have to know Donna better. And you definitely need to have her in your orbit. And I've been so happy to be in your orbit. While I don't necessarily remember the moment we met, I certainly hope there's never a moment I don't know you, because you're just incredible. I love you, and happy retirement.
Thank you, Tim. That's awesome. So we have, looking at the time, we do have other confirmed friends and family that we want to hear from. And there are also a few of you who have DM'd me saying that you'd like to speak as well. But because, you know, I know that we scheduled this until 2, we can go over. I do want to just give Donna a moment now to say a few words in case people really have a hard stop at 2. We just want to make sure that we get to hear from our honorees. So Donna Futterman, are you with us?
No, I left. It was too much. This is really so amazing. And many people said, please take it in. And I have. And thank all of you and each of you for your love and your message. And
Donna,
yeah.
There's some echoing. So I don't know if there's another phone or something.
There is. Terry's in the room. So we're going to
separate.
It was muted.
Okay.
Oh, right. You're muted, but I've got it.
Good now.
So I feel terrible because the people I really want to hear from, Virginia, Evan, and Terry, I hope I don't cut too much into their time. But, you know, all work was incredible, but the most important thing is family and friends. And one of the things I'm really looking forward in retirement is being able to give more time to them. You know, you all say, oh, she never said no. Well, I think a lot of that came at the cost of time with family and friends. And I'm really looking forward to that changing in retirement. Many of you spoke about my work career, and I just feel like for me, one of the biggest words is gratitude. To have work where you feel you can work on the things that you love, social justice, medicine. It was, you know, just, I feel so blessed that I had a career like that. As people have said, I came to the Bronx in 1980, fell in love with the Bronx, its people, its issues, and the incredible people who work here. And nothing that I've done could have happened without collaboration and implementation. And, you know, everyone knows Stephen, work husband, dear friend, and every single person on this call was part of moving this work forward. And the other thing that, you know, many careers have is the opportunity to keep learning and embrace new things. And I feel like I've really had that opportunity. People talk about multidisciplinary teams and they mean, you know, a doctor, a nurse, and a social worker. But for me, the disciplines were really outside of medicine and were, you know, social marketers, communications, music. And it was a thrill to be able to, you know, leverage the issues and bring aboard, you know, people. And, you know, every single person on this call is an incredible leader and contributor. And I thank each of you for that. Obviously, AIDS has been a focal point. Having worked in gay health, when AIDS came, it was clear to me it was affecting my community. And to, you know, over 40 years, watch AIDS go from something that killed many, many people to something that people are living, thriving, surviving. What an honor to have watched that. It's not over. We still have a lot of work to do, but you know, to have watched that change is amazing. And, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to go into medicine was I knew I wanted to work internationally. And, you know, it was clear, like from the very beginning, that AIDS was a worldwide pandemic. And when I first went to South Africa and the first focus was even just a mutual support. And when I got there, I realized that this was going to be a very much a bi-directional exchange. I learned so much in South Africa that we were able to bring back, you know, from the role of health department leadership, which became the Bronx Nose, to incredible dedication and fight against HIV and AIDS. One of the, you know, markers for me or important learnings came both in the Bronx and in South Africa. Jillian referenced it, which was from my background, I really thought about issues and demographics in a lot of ways as a Black and white issue. And clearly, you know, in America, with our legacy of slavery and racism, that is a core thing. But Lisi said it, Vincent said it, Jillian said it. You know what? It's not just Black and white. And the Bronx is our Latino borough, and Latinos are the largest minority in our country. And I think we just, you know, intersectionality, we need to open our hearts and minds. As a gay woman, clearly issues of lesbian and gay youth were always important to me. But in the last decade, the emergence of an active vocal trans community. And it's really been a learning, constant learning for me, for all of us, to better serve these young people. NGOs, community organizations have been key in all of the progress that we need to make. Handing off the program is very bittersweet, and I'm hopeful that, you know, the new people taking it on will continue, you know, to do this kind of service work. And it's not as hard to leave as I thought it would be, especially in, you know, thinking about it's time for new people to continue this work and take it over. And I just want to say one thing about Vietnam. Twee and I have talked a lot, but Twee's father was an editor of a paper in Vietnam, in Saigon, that was supportive of the South Vietnamese regime. And she and her family suffered a great deal after the war was over. And it was a side and a perspective that I really had never considered in my anti-war advocacy. So, you know, we have to keep opening ourselves up. So now I'm retiring. My biggest goal is, I know I'll continue doing things, but time with family and friends, you know, to talk to people, to answer emails, a time of reflection. I'm very proud of my fierceness, my advocacy, you know, what I stood for and fought for. But I want to think, did I always need to do it in the way I did it? I was clearly not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm grateful for the many people who love me, but I hope that I can integrate and think about some things and maybe do them differently. As a doctor, I need to focus on some of my own healing and self-care, which are majorly neglected, and think about next steps. I'm not in a rush to do it. I'm enjoying the time off. You know, Corona affected all of us, and I feel, you know, let me re-engage. Clearly, people know that I'm an extrovert, but the pandemic, my own struggle with health issues have made some changes. I feel more introverted. It's hard to go out. I'm worried about the next phase of Corona. So hopefully we will all survive. Much love to my mother, who I know is on this call. She's 94. I'm not going to single out everybody because each of you have great and deep meaning. And thank you for taking the time to be here today with me. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. Yeah. Congratulations. So Mary Jo and Joanne, are you still with us?
We're here.
Yay. You have the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you. When I moved to New York from Chicago to start medical school at Montefiore, I was given a name of someone that I was told was the person that I had to look up and that I had to meet with when I arrived in New York. And of course, that name was Donna Futterman. I'm going to be very brief, but I must say that she changed my life in many ways. Our daughter and her and Virginia's son grew up together as quasi brother and sister. Your friendships meant so much through all the years, Donna. I admire you and I love you. And I'm looking forward to this next chapter in your life.
Please, we want to see you. Please come down and visit us. We love you. Mwah.
Thank you. Betty Levinson?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
So, as a stranger to the world of medicine, hearing all of you speak with such love and respect for Donna is inspirational to me. I feel like I'm, in a sense, in a time machine being brought back to 1973, which was the year that I graduated from law school. It was also the year, after many, many years of waiting, that the American Psychiatric Association removed homosexuality from the DSM list of mental illnesses. Despite the progress in the medical world and what the APA finally did, the legal world, as usual, took its time in catching up. And in those bad old days, as many of you lived through and many of you have read about and, some remember, gays, lesbians faced horrendous uphill battles in many, many areas, employment, housing, but very especially in family law, which I grew into over the years of my legal practice. Gay marriage? No, that's ridiculous. Gay adoption? Are you crazy? And in the courts, lesbian moms were coerced into accepting horrendous financial deprivation, threatened to be outed by the husbands they were divorcing. And most terrifying was the fear of losing the custody of your children, because your status as a gay person made you allegedly an unfit mother. Then in 1991, along came Donna and Virginia. And we worked together on a case that came to be known as in the matter of Evan. And it was the first two-mom adoption in New York State. This breakthrough became a template, and I can never thank them enough for the opportunities I and other lawyers received of using that case with joy as a template for people all over the country, and that it did. It also began a long-standing friendship with both of them, and including my eventual very wonderful meeting with Evan as a grown-up. Donna, sweetheart, I hope that you are able to drink in and taste the sweetness of what you're hearing today. You are a multi-impact activist. I'm sure that will continue, but my medical prescription for you right now is exactly what you have in mind for yourself. Take your time and enjoy the glow. Love you. Bye.
Thank you, Betty. Virginia Casper, everyone.
Hi, and thank you, Betty, for everything and that. Donna, I just have to start by saying I do remember when I met you, and that you were sorting slides for a presentation about your recent trip to Vietnam, a reminder that your HIV advocacy didn't just pop out of nowhere. And also, I just have to say that you were multitasking even then. You were doing about 6 things while you were doing that. And because I wasn't a work colleague, I really learned about your work from what you brought home to talk about. And I was struck then and now too, not just about the clinical care, the advocacy, the empathy you showed for your teen patients and their families who were grappling with so much throughout the AIDS epidemic, but how awed you were by the nurses you worked with and how they were treated, and the mutual respect that developed among all of you on the wards, and that was not something that was prevalent enough, shall we say. And as I reflect on our time together and your work, the underlying thread for me is your passionate warrior self. that you lead and persevere in uncomfortable situations, often when the tide is distinctly not in your favor. And routine testing was just one example of that. There were many more. And with that same passion, as Betty just reflected on, you fought for us as a family, pushing with Betty in the ACLU from before what Betty talked about, for Montefiore to extend medical benefits to domestic partners, and soon after for us to be part of that statewide second parent adoption test. And that really created case law that paved the way for so many others. And I have to say, you pushed me in all of this. I'm not sure it would have happened otherwise. And so most significantly for me, you really pushed us both to see past our fears, which at the time represented considerable risks, especially for me in a deeply psychoanalytic work world that I was in. And to have a child. And I'm really forever grateful to you for that. So I'm happy to have been part of your life for the last 50 years. And I know you're going to have a lot of rich and productive adventures in your next chapter, as you have throughout all this time, while still staying true to your very passionate warrior self. Lots of love, Donna.
Thank you, Virginia. Evan.
Yeah, no pressure. I loved hearing about people who consider Donna to be their mama too. I didn't know I had some other siblings. I think I've met Jalov maybe once briefly. I don't remember exactly when or how. I mean, I know the day I met Donna, but I don't remember how we met. I think I don't want to. So the two ways I've been hearing so much and so many great stories, that some of which I'm familiar with and some of which I had not heard before, the specificity, but the two things that I really wanted to share and think about, I think what Virginia just shared that resonates a lot for me is what Donna brought home, but also that I spent a good chunk of my childhood also in her office, going and either after school or, in addition to hearing, when she would come home and talking about things. And I think from the kind of global and the structural analysis, something I feel like I take away a lot from and have learned a lot from Donna is the inside-outside push and strategy and politics and agitation. It's the global solidarity work that we know people in South Africa who fought apartheid, and Thailand who fought authoritarianism, and sex worker advocates and AIDS advocates and feminists and anti-war activists and Asada's, babysitters, and sort of the list goes on. And one of my most favorite and proud moments is when there was an event at the White House and they needed to escort her and flag her because she was a threat to national security. What a tremendous moment of pride for me that my mom was a threat to all of the worst evil imperialist, tendencies of this country. And at the same time, I met the borough president and we went to an event with Bill Clinton and Ruth Messenger and Hillary, and right. So there's the advocacy and the activism both that I have learned a tremendous amount from, of how you need to have both of those, and they need to push each other in various ways. And then the other thing that resonates both from my experience being around Donna for my entire life and from my grandfather, her dad too, is you go everywhere and people know you and love you and give you a big hug and, oh, this person. And again, this sort of global, local, everywhere you go, people knowing and loving is a really proud moment for me, from all the news clippings and traveling at 4 a.m. to some CBS Sunday morning, clip she was going to record, and the newspaper articles in the New York Times. All of those things signaled to me, I have big shoes to fill professionally and my own ambitions, and also just that my mom clearly was impacting a lot of people's lives and doing a lot of things, and then hearing from her patients and friends and stuff today is really special. the encapsulation I had for this, I think Vincent this is the last thing I have, which is like this thing Vincent said was just this sort of destabilizing nature of hearing all of these things. It like throws you off, like, oh, I had this thing I was prepared to say, and then there's so much that comes, and then you hear all of the other things that people are saying and thinking. And this destabilizing moment happened to me yesterday. I went to go vote early at the school around the corner. And I gave my name to the woman, the poll worker, who was a middle-aged Black woman. And I gave her my name, and she said, oh, okay, here's your ballot, and don't forget to use both sides and everything. And she paused for a second, she looked at my name, and she said, so Evan Casper Futterman, that's funny. I used to work with a woman named Donna Futterman. And I said, hey, that's my mom. She's having a retirement party tomorrow. And the woman lit up. It was like this, she's a poll worker in the Bronx. Her name, I got her to write down her name because I wanted to bring her regards to you, Mom, and she can't be here today because she's working at the polls in my precinct. Donnell Harrison, she was, oh my God, Donna, wish her the best, good luck. So this was a random, I went to go vote. I could have gone to any table to vote. This is a woman in the Bronx who knows and loves my mom. So it really was just, it's everywhere I go. I work a lot with Dominican folks. I can't wait to go to the Dominican Republic, as Lihia said, and meet all the Dominicans who know and love my mom too. And I'm really proud of you. I'm proud that you're retiring. And I'm proud you got a Gmail address. And I am excited to see what you do and don't do over the next, as long as you want. And love you.
Thank you, Devin. Terry Jackson.
Hey, can you hear me, Stephen?
Yes, with an echo. So we need someone to.
I'll shut mine, but Terry.
I'll sit
computer down.
You're going to shut yours off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
So the two of us actually talk about this all the time in terms of, do you remember when we first met? And for me, it's as clear as day. And Donna always likes me to talk about this story. It was actually in the early 2000s. And at the time, I was the director of clinical services at Planned Parenthood. And I had a leadership team meeting, and then the CEO, then Joe Mallon, turned to me and said, I've had this vision whereby I want Planned Parenthood of New York City to become the flagship of what good, integrated, coordinated HIV and sexual and reproductive health services looks like. So my colleagues are turning to me because the science was nascent. And after the meeting, we all gathered and they were like, well, T, what are you going to do? You've been given your walking papers. This is what she wants. And I was talking to a colleague and she said, I've heard of this doctor in the Bronx. I think her name's like Donna Futterman. And she's saying that she can get the whole borough of the Bronx to know their HIV status. And my friend turns to me, Daphne Hazel, I'll never forget her. And she says, it sounds a little crazy and people are saying she's crazy. And I said to myself, no, this is logical given the technology that's coming about. And I called, AAP, and Stephen, actually, I spoke with you and told you, who I was, what I'm doing. And I thought that you would probably hang the phone up because it's like, who's this arbitrary person calling? And Donna tells me, it's like, I didn't know it was a big thing. It's like, wow, Planned Parenthood wants to do this. And I had never been to the Bronx in the early 2000s. I spent most of my time in Manhattan and in Brooklyn. And I'll never forget taking that trip up to the Bronx and getting off the train. And it was just like, it was such a great breath in that I looked around and I saw so many people who looked like me. It was just fresh with Black and brown people. And I remember walking to the AAP program, and Stephen lets me in, and I go to Donna's office and she comes in, and she was so excited putting all of these ACTS materials in front of me. And I was just like, it was just like this burst of energy. And I was like, wow, the headline for this woman is, she's a big thinker. She's the real deal. She's got the big idea that can move the needle. And I remember her saying to me, no is just the beginning of yes. It's the beginning of the negotiation. And I will never forget that, the perseverance. And, that day just turned into me being able to convince my colleagues. And I can only imagine the hundreds, thousands of women that you've helped. And not many of us can say that they've left that type of mark. But I'm also, blessed, and I'm grateful that I also get to experience Donna in a different way. I get to experience your partnership and love, from cooking meals to, talking about what's the latest in the Lancet, to our guilty pleasures of watching Pose and Queen Sugar, and even a little Maury Povich or what have you. It's like we can share that. We can go from the intellectual to just like, hey, let's just talk trash. I get to dance with you. You're a lover of music as I am, from dancing to Tina Turner to the Fugees. You're very colorful, as your colleagues have said, in that way, doing a little wobble. I love your spirit in that way. Also, travel. Who would have thunk it? It's like, I've traveled to many of my ancestral lands with you, from Africa, riding horseback in the bush, to going to Ireland and looking at the moors, to being at my childhood home when my mother was ill and sitting on the same back porch that, she used to sit with me. So with that, I thank you. I am grateful.
Thank you, Terry. Jesse Milan.
Wow. Well, Donna, let me be clear. I had to be here. When I got this invitation, I was like, I'm going to be there no matter what for Donna Futterman. Donna, my goodness, nearly 20 years ago when we were together on the Chac, you did an amazing job of always bringing the community you represent into the conversation. And I think that the reauthorization work that we did together on the Ryan White program is inspired by you. And I think the whole country actually owes a thank you in so many ways for your work and for your advocacy. But I wanted to say a personal thank you, Donna, because when I first met you, I thought, oh my God, who is this powerhouse woman who's partnered and a parent? And I was like, isn't that what we all want to be? And I thought, oh my God, she's like the role model sitting right next to me in this meeting. How can I just get some of that? And I remember thinking that that's what we all want to be, and that is what we all need. Years ago, when I was asked to pinch hit for Bob Fullalove as the keynote speaker at a conference for the AIDS Alliance of Children, Youth, and Families, I remember standing, in fact, it's about the only memory I have of that speech, standing at the podium and looking down at the audience and having Donna Futterman smile back at me. I hope everyone can remember and carry with them that empowerment smile of Donna Futterman. It is it causes your heart to sing, your mind to brighten, your life to just become more powerful like Donna. And I think that legacy is really, Donna, what so many of us hope is left behind by you, because it's part of you, and that is the empowerment you have given to so many and the work that you have done to make it possible for us and so many to be what our community can be, and for each one of us to be who we should be. That's who I believe Donna Futterman wants us to be, and I think that's your legacy, Donna. And I know it has touched me. So on a personal note, thank you. And on a professional note, thank you. And as a citizen of this country and the world, thank you. You deserve all that's coming and all the platitudes and rescue that the Creator has in store for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Deborah Fraser.
Hi, Donna. I like Jesse. I had to be here. I hear people talking about not remembering where they met you. I think I do remember, or at least how the channel happened. When I was the founder of the National Black Leadership Commission on AIDS, I was working with Dr. Haggerty at Harlem Hospital, and we were taking care of the AIDS babies, the border babies. And I was a tough broad at the time. I'm still a little tough. And I did not think that any white woman, period, should be advocating for our children. These were my children. And if I could have taken all the babies home that had AIDS, I would have. And I had this very staunch, stance as an advocate that we have to take care of our own. And the only person that I thought we'd allow to do that was Dr. Haggerty, until I met you. And I think that was the channel to you through what was going on at Harlem Hospital. This is very early 80s. And I met you and I touched you and I said, this broad is as bad as I am. So she's got to be a part of the advocacy chain. And I felt so safe in letting our children be touched and advocated for by you. I cannot tell you what it means for me to say that. I love you, Donna. Always have, and I always will. And thank you for the blessings that you've given in my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Arnold Adelberg.
Okay. Donna is my niece, the only niece on my maternal side, my sister's daughter. And I've probably known Donna longer than just about anybody here, because I knew her really before she was born. And it's been a pleasure watching her grow up as a child and then have an amazing professional career. Unfortunately, I didn't stay as close to her as I really would have liked to, because in 1962, I moved out to Iowa, where I became a professor of mathematics at a little liberal arts college. But I did see Donna from occasionally at family affairs, and I did follow her career. And I'd like to say just a couple of things of a personal nature, similar to things that Terry, Virginia, and Evan said, picking up on those themes. Donna, of course, was always a lovely person. Her father was a textile export importer, and I think Donna picked up her interest in international things from her father and traveling abroad many times while growing up. And she learned how to interact with people who lived in South Africa in particular, and that's sort of been very important for her life. The other thing of interest, Donna, well, a couple of other points. Donna went to Barnard, and after Barnard, I have the impression, I don't remember, this was a long time ago, that she wasn't really sure what to do with her life. And she worked for a few years. I think she worked in one of the major
Saks Fifth Avenue. She worked at Saks
at
selling
Saks
umbrellas,
Fifth Avenue selling umbrellas.
and that wasn't relevant.
And that was not obviously what she wanted to do with her life. She decided at some point to go into medicine. And I do remember that she was at that point older than the traditional applicant to medical school and didn't have exactly the right background, the normal pre-medical background. And she had to fight hard to gain admission to medical school. And that tenacity and determination has been really important to her in the rest of her life. The other thing I would like to note is several years ago, Grinnell College awarded an honorary degree to Anna Quinlan, who had written the wonderful essay, Evan Has Two Mothers. And we had the opportunity to talk to Anna, and we asked her about that book, and she said, "Oh yeah, that's a fine book. I was happy to do that."
That's an essay, book of essays.
Essay. I knew Donna as a student at Barnard, so she was a classmate there. And I just want to mention these remarks because I'm not a medical doctor. I was not in on all these professional things that Donna attributed, but I think this is all part and parcel of Donna as a wonderful, giving person. That's all I have to say.
Ditto.
Wow. That's like, an emotional, I'm drunk on emotions, Donna, so I can't even imagine what you're sitting with right now, but it's like, wow, what a high I feel hearing, such amazing tributes to you professionally, personally. Yeah, we've gone over our allotted time, and to my knowledge, the folks that wanted to speak have all spoken. So Donna, do you want to close with any words?
I'm going to break what stereotype and just say thank you and not add anything else. I'm really overwhelmed, and thanks to everyone who said take it in, because I did. And I really, really, really appreciate this. Call on me, everyone, for anything. Evan noted my new Gmail account, Donna Futterman at Gmail. And we're going to have a lot of work to do. I think politics is going to, take quite a bit of attention from many of us in the times ahead. And hopefully we can continue to have some important victories, end AIDS, and, advance social justice. So thank you, everyone. Much, much love and appreciation.
Yeah.